Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. Please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate y'all for coming. Please come in and say a friendly hello. Thank you for supporting me and supporting the channel and supporting other survivors as well. I'm going to start off by sharing a little bit um, in my book. What There's some neat, interesting things in there as well. Okay, come on. Hope that everyone's doing good today. So this is the cover of my book, Shattered Innocence Survives, okay? Here's a picture of me when above the photo. One Christmas morning, Darlene J. Clark was sitting on a couch with her presents. Christmas was always confusing since there were 9 children at home. The presents were not wrapped nor labeled, but if we sat at the wrong spot, which were not our gifts, the gifts were forfeited. Most kids have a smile on their face, happiness. Well, I knew from experience the day after Christmas, a lot of times Dad had built a big fire and we had to throw our gifts that we got for Christmas on it. Um, so let me go on down to a couple of things I want to share right quick. I want to let people know that I'm not a trained therapist or medical professional. This book and the accompanying activities are not designed to replace proper medical advice or therapy. They're designed to help you verbalize and visualize the pain and emotion associated with any abuse you are directly or indirectly experiencing, and then share them with said professionals. If you are being abused and are experiencing pain from said abuse, seek professional help immediately. Okay, there's a couple things I wanted to share with y'all right quick. This is a board a friend of mine written. I miss her so dearly. I haven't been able to get in touch with her. I'm hoping she's okay. She was in the line fire rescuing some of these women that she was in South America. They actually broke into her house and had beaten her so bad for them for her rescuing some of the girls. Amidst utter heartbreak, anguish, and indisputable personal trauma, Darlene fearlessly tackles the darkest of subject matter with a genuineness and embraces her fellow survivors, undeniably peeling back the layers of shame so many of us carry our hearts. Darlene's willingness to risk the most vulnerable places of her own heart certainly brings healing to an unsuspected soul, mine included. Thank you so much, Julia, because you brought a lot of hope and healing to mine too. Personally, as a crisis and trauma counselor working with young women, breaking free from the bondage of sexual abuse, incest, and sex trafficking, as well as being a fellow survivor of long term childhood sexual abuse, I find Darlene's faith and resilience truly astounding. Her continued desire to embrace survivors is a testimony to her unconditional compassion for those desperately hurting in this world. It is unquestionable honor to witness Darlene's immense courage, profound strength, and unparalleled determination when it comes to speaking the truth about childhood sexual abuse. This is a story we need to deeply hear. Her daring words shattered the silence, saying, "No more. Today is the day we break the cycle of abuse." Thus, Darlene shines an impeccable light on the blackness that penetrates an innocent life when faced with the bleakest of humanity's treachery. Shine on, Darlene, shine on. So it's great humility that I introduce you, Darlene, to sectional journey. Okay, we're gonna get past that. And I want to give thanks also to a fellow survivor, and he's got a book out there, and y'all should look him up, Get to Know. Andrew Scott is the name he wanted me to put this under. Once there was a garden fair, untouched by the storms, free from despair. A child dancing fields of grace, dreams of light in every space. But shadows crept where light once lay, stains of sorrow marked the day. A fragile trust was torn apart, a silent scream within her heart. The world she knew turned cold and stark. The laughter dimmed, replaced by dark. Each whispered word, each stolen glance, became the thief of her innocence. Yet in the shards resilience grew, a fire burned where tears once flew. She bore her pain, her scars, her truth, a woman forged from broken youth. Her story speaks of wounds concealed, a battle fought, a strength revealed. Though innocence may fade, transform, from ashes rises the fiercest form. To those who listen, her voice will say, light can find the darkest way. Though innocence may shatter in part, courage will reveal the heart. There's been so much in here in the book, and I want to put some limelight, some information in here, some things which might make you laugh, you know. So, yeah, I'm writing it, showing this. Okay, this might be imperative. I talked a little bit about this last night, and the lie that I had with Kay. Um, Introduction strength comes from the past. People continue to tell me to forget the past. It doesn't hurt me as badly as it used to. I'm telling my story, one of survival, of courage, of hope. I aspire to reach out to others to whom this had happened. People should learn not to judge anyone. The worst thing I have heard is, I would have shot him if this happened to me. I would have run away. I would have kicked and hit him back. It's ludicrous. They didn't live it. They do not know what they would have done in my situation or anyone else's. The person has enough trouble surviving and coping without hearing someone saying what they would have done if that had happened to them. It is degrading. Surviving the horror of abuse is an inspiration. For those who have lived it, they know the hell. Each day was a matter of survival. Yes, some laws are supposed to help abuse victims, but in my situation, they didn't on numerous occasions. Whenever you hear someone's story of abuse, please don't tell them what you would have done. It makes a person feel worse. It is like saying you could have done it better and that we didn't do a good enough job surviving. To the judges, are you God? The Bible warns against judging. In Matthew 7 1 through 2, Jesus said, judge not, that ye be not judged. For what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. We need to be grateful we survived the horror. So please don't say that what you would have done or tell the survivor that he or she needs to stop discussing the abuse unless it was you in that situation. I hope to show my strength by sharing my story. I hope others in similar situations can open up and talk about it. The worst thing a person can do is not talk about it. It gives the perpetrators more power. Let's get our power back and keep it. To note, God is the only reason I survived. It was by His love, grace, and mercy I survived. I was destined to write this book. I was in an online support group. One day I shared a piece I wrote named Regina's Triumph. It is in a chapter called Poems and Other Writings. The members of the group asked for my permission to copy and print Regina's Triumph. They informed me that the writing portrayed how they felt. It helped them explain to their psychologists how they felt, as they had trouble explaining their feelings. I was proud to be asked this. My words would help my abused friends explain how they felt internally. I felt honored. So I permitted them to show their doctor or therapist's literary piece. There were 3 times I had given up writing this book. All 3 times within 3 days of me wanting to give up, devastating abuse happened. This is for real, y'all. You know, so we got to remember to continue praying for these people that are affected and have been affected. The first time I was talking on a popular messenger service with my friend named Cowboy Bill. As I said, it was Yahoo Messenger. We used to, they used to be the main messenger people played on, played games and everything. He informed me about his friend, a police officer, who had given him some horrific news. A 4-year-old child overheard her mother and mother's boyfriend arguing. The little girl went to the mother's boyfriend. While tugging his shirt tail, she said, "Please stop fighting." He backhanded her, which sent her young body down a flight of stairs. She didn't survive. The second time, I had torn up my printed manuscript. But anyway, after what had happened with that one with a guy on Messenger, he had come back and he had told me what had happened. I had waited because the phone had rung. So he come back and told me what had just happened. The police officer about that little kid. Just the news of her just dying. And it was so horrific. And he said, "You got to tell. You cannot, no, you got to tell your story. You got to be a voice for these different people." So on a friend site, which no longer exists, and it was netfriendships.com, Molly asked me to speak with her daughter, who was being abused severely. I tried to convince her to leave. She had 1 or 2 young babies at home. Regrettably, she did not leave. Close to a year later, Molly had contacted me to inform me that her daughter had died. She was stabbed over 80 times. And I'm changing her name for protective purposes. Molly asked me to inform her friends about the disturbing news. She gave me the newspaper link, so if anyone doubted the horrifying news, the link would prove truthful. The third time I gave up writing a book, a woman went to a local Texaco. A little while later, the mom told the clerk her car was stolen with her 5-year-old son in the back seat. An APB, all points bulletin, was issued. Glass was located inside the family's garage. His name was Deontay. It was too late to save this precious 5-year-old boy, who was found deceased in the same vehicle his mother had claimed was stolen. He died from blows to his stomach for bringing home a bad report card. The mother's boyfriend, Kevin Tolles, was the abuser murderer. The mother was involved as well, since she helped her boyfriend cover up this hideous crime. Hey, Cash, how you doing? Hey, CRG, good to see you too. So let's get on. I'm going to tell something in here, something that's funny in here. Okay, we're going to get on down to this part about what had happened at the Benny Carl show. So we're going to put a little likeness in here. Okay, so let's go on down. So then in the chapters, you see what I did. I got a little thing where y'all could, right, okay, write your little thoughts, ideas. Okay, this was at my 7th birthday, the Benny Carl show. It was such a big surprise when Mom Hilda, y'all can laugh at this, okay, laugh at me and be a little kid, okay, and her new stepdad, David Smith, showed up, sorry, to pick Marlene and me up to be on the Benny Carl show in Huntsville, Alabama. David arrived in a camper pickup truck. Mom, Hilda, and David went to the back of the camper. My eyes were as big as lollipops with excitement. I had never ridden in a camper before. Daddy, David loved the excitement on Marlene and my on our faces. I asked, "Where do I sit?" David replied, "You can sit anywhere your heart desires." Mom, Hilda, Marlene, and I rode in the back while Daddy David drove. It was so neat seeing the kitchenette. I had never thought it would all fit. I sat at a table while Marlene sat across from me. Mom Hilda was instructing us to be on our best behavior since we were going to be on television. I did not understand that concept. Because back then, when she said on TV, we had some broken TVs that were, um, and Dad had pulled out the insides of them, and some of the kids would play like they were on TV. So I really didn't understand the concept of being on TV, okay? We arrived at the studio. Our seats were smaller set style of bleachers. I chose to sit right beside this cute, dark haired boy. Marlene, the cute boy, and all sat up top with just a few others sitting in our row. There were other rows below us. Mr. Benny offered us a 16-ounce bottle of RC or double cola. I had never had my very own drink before. I was shocked. Benny started talking with the child on my far right. He was asking her questions. I noticed we were to give our bottles to Benny as he spoke to each one individually. Let's see, I was born 1969. I was not finished with my drink. There was no way I was about to give him my bottle. I was not done. I stuck it further into my mouth as the acid started choking me a tad. I did not cough or open my mouth. Tears welled up. I paid no attention to the camera guy. Mr. Benny asked me, "What is your name?" I temporarily took the clenched bottle out of my mouth. "My name is Darlene," I stated as I was about to put the bottle back in my mouth. Mr. Benny asked, "Is this your birthday today?" I knew to have manners, so I replied, "Yes, sir. It's mine and Marlene's 7th birthday." I put the bottle back into my mouth. He teasingly asked, "Please give me the bottle." I was adamant. I stuck the bottle further into my mouth as I shook my head no. Mr. Benny would take a step toward the boy beside me, and then he stepped back, as if playing with me. He again said, "Give me that bottle." I saw the camera guy rotate the camera around and around. Mr. Benny Carr was so nice that he let me finish a birthday soda. When Marlene and I got home, Gwen was seated in front of the television set. Gwen stated, "Darlene, how did you do that trick?" I asked, "What trick?" She said, "Can you teach me that trick? How did you drink soda while you turned flips?" I did not know what Gwen was talking about. So evidently, while I was drinking the bottle of soda and the camera guy was spinning the camera around, it's making it look like I was turning flips. So she was, yeah. So Sue said that was a camera guy rotating the camera as he was filming. I shrugged my shoulders as I proceeded to leave the room. I did not know what anyone was talking about, but now it's hilarious. Yeah, so I wanted to get out, a couple of fun type of memories too. It wasn't just all bad, you know what I'm saying? And well, he had told us that it's our Coke and he won't take it away from us. So when he was coming and asked me for the bottle, it's like, uh-uh. I wasn't done with it, right? Oh yeah. So we can laugh about it now. So I try to look at the positive things. There's a lot of good things in my life, which there's a lot of the sadness. There's the sex abuse, there's the trafficking, there's abuse, there's the neglect, but there's some positive things that happen as well. So I want to say that, and my daddy was not bad 100% of the time either. At times he picked us up from school just to take us home so that we could play badminton with him so he could spend some time with us, right? Or we could go play ball together, all of us kids. So there was actually some good times at times. Okay. So yeah, it's my RC Cola. That's right. My Coke. And the first time I had my own. And there's another time when I had to be hospitalized when I was choking. That case that is in the book as well. But the good part about it is when I was in the hospital for the 2 weeks where they were doing the evaluation on why I lost my breath, I was in there because they had to do an emergency tracheotomy and they could not find the reason. But I was told that all the nurses, they didn't hardly let me stay in the bed very long. They would just tote me around. And when they did their little visitings in the different areas, they took me to around in the hospital with them. I was their little girl, and wasn't that sweet? So that was uplifting, and that's probably why one of the pictures on an Easter celebration when I was 2, I had the biggest smile on my face. So this had happened a little bit before, this picture evidently. So I didn't have that trauma look as the other family members basically were having, not the smile, but I actually had a big smile on my face, because I could remember all that love that I felt by these nurses, right? So then there's these other times when my daddy would hold me down, but he would tickle me. And that was his kind of torture type of thing, but he liked us giggling, right? But he held it against the will, and then the tickling hurt so bad. And I'm not ticklish today because of it. I mean, there was some good times where we actually, he would call me in his room late at night, basically to scratch his feet with a knife. And even that might sound gross and yuck to y'all, but I felt like he wanted a little bit of attention with me. So I got to actually go to him afterwards and I go to him and he said, okay, it's bedtime now. So I go around to my stepmom and I go give her a hug and a kiss goodnight. Then I'll walk over there to the other side of the bed and try to kiss and hug Daddy. And he said, "Oh, cooties, cooties." He covered the cover. No, get those cooties away. Get those cooties away. So, there was some, yeah, it's confusing as heck because you're thinking, oh, you see this good part, but then you see this sadistic part, like where he cut me between my legs when I was 4, how his part of selling me at age 2, how my sister, had said, that he never did anything sexual to us, that he just ejaculated on our face when I was an infant. How would I know that unless she told me, right? And if she says that's not sexual abuse, what is, right? But the thing about it is, there are some positive things in my life where I still, even though they did not teach me about God, I knew about God. He was there, okay? If not all hate, then how do you reconcile? Yeah, it is confusing because you're thinking he loves me and he don't love me. Sometimes you wonder if he had some kind of different personality type of thing. He did have, when he lost custody of us when I was 11 years old, he had a mental breakdown and he went to the hospital because of that. That people in unconverse relationships, that's right. You are right there, you know. And I'm just so glad that there were times when I had some good people in my life, such as there was a lady from church. Um, she got to take us 4 girls home with her, and she said she had asked my stepmom if I could go home with her. She said, "No, you got to take all 4 girls." So she went ahead and prepared, and finally we got to go over there. And I didn't know that she would want me to go over to her house, right? But she said, and I got sick after we ate, and I asked to go lay down. So she let me go lay down, and she had a personal conversation with me. She said, I asked for just you to come over, and they refused. They said that all the other girls had to come too. But she said it's well worth it since I'm able to have you over and spend time with you. And you know how heartwarming that is to hear an adult come and tell me things like that? There is so much good in my life that, yeah, there's some negative, a lot of negative, mostly negative. But the thing about it is, I still had a smile. I still had a hope. They couldn't take that fully away from me. Um, but I knew that if I ran, it wouldn't do no good. I had a brother that ran away from home, uh, and several times, and we all got into the van and we all drove around, and boy, did he get beat after he got caught. Um, so I knew there's no escape, and like that time when they had me up underneath the house, they beat me so bad and put me under the house and left me to die, and that guy rescued me and took me to a hotel, and the cops found me 3 days later. And he goes, please take her to the hospital because she is so Look at all the what they did to her. They tried to kill her, all the bruises and stuff, right? But the police said no. She's got custody of her, so we're just going to return her back to the house. But you know, they didn't help. But at least one person tried, right? At least there's different people throughout that actually tried. Thank you. I try to be. I just want to teach others that don't lose hope, don't give up. If you look at my screen, it says speak out, seek help. It says never lose. And up underneath it's supposed to be never lose hope. That's right. Never lose hope. Exactly. You got to have hope. You got to have faith and everything. And their main reason of, like I said, was a teenager living at home. And I was dragged around by the hair of my head through the house, different things like that. And I was like, Lord, what's going on? And I said, I had this notion, okay, I'm going to be bad a couple of days. I'm going to do a test. I'm going to go in there and do like they are doing. I'm going to go in the refrigerator. Here I was a teenager. I'm going to go get me an alcoholic beverage. I'm going to open it up and go in there in front of them. See if I get in trouble, right? Oh man, I was the best buddy of them. I did not get in trouble whatsoever as long as I was drinking and even picked up a cigarette, acting like I'm smoking it. I could do all that bad and I was not in trouble, okay? But if I go and I start talking about God, if I try to just do my regular things on cleaning up, trying to help others, different things like that, oh, that's when I was in trouble, okay? That's when I got in trouble. And I just made that decision of, okay, I got my answer here, and they're not going to change how I am. So I'm going back to my normal self. This was a test. So thank you, Lord, for helping me. It's easier to ignore what's some crap, but times the discussion need to be had. Bearing head in the sand. Exactly. These discussions do need to be made aware. And somebody had cheered me up a while back, and they gave me a little mug, and it's got not a mug but a glass, and it's got "You are," and it's got some words, and it's got Bible verses. Obviously, protect them. And don't get me wrong. There were times when I was suicidal. At times, I was giving up, especially when I was married and I was being abused. And I had blocked so much out of my mind, and I really believe that they did give me shots like the MK Ultra after some of the trafficking stuff. And I really believe that firmly. And that's why some of the memories are just now shotting up every once in a while. I never know when to expect it that it's going to show. Yes, I know your thoughts. Yes, thank you. But the thing about it is, that's one thing that made her mad is I would sneak out of the house. Okay, what reason do most teens sneak out of the house? What, to go see a guy or go somewhere, that you're not supposed to go? Like, but I snuck out of her house to take the church van, go to church. Boy, I got beat for that. I got beat for worshiping God. You're not to worship God. You're not to. You need to stop that. Well, I told a guy at church, I said, I'm being beat for coming to church. I don't know how long I could take. I'm a geek. I don't know how long, that I can keep this up myself, being a 15-year-old. And he told me to be like Job. As I told y'all last night, my real initials are Job. And I looked at him and I said, I am Job. Because that was my initials, J-O-B. So I said, I am Job. Oh yeah, you got that right. That's the worst coming of age film, not Breakfast Club. Yeah. So it's very interesting at these different aspects, and when you're trying to just get along, and it's kind of hard as a teenager as it is, right? And then you're got all this misconstrued stuff, and then these things that were happening, and I kept blocking them out of my memory because it was too traumatic. Such as, like when my stepmom held me down while her son raped me, I blocked it out of my memory till a lot of years later. Blocked it out of my memory about seeing the knife coming down at my baby. I blocked it out of my memory. Um, that would be easy. Just don't get Jodie Foster. Just don't get Jodie Foster. That's kind of funny. I like you saying that, Cash. But it's like you're going against the hurdles. You're trying to be the best girl. And think, like I said, there were 9 kids living at home, right? So, like, there was Gerald, which was a kicker on the football team. Um, then there was Bart and May. I had them they are the same age. But let's see, let's see, Bart and Gwen. Okay, they're the same age. Gwen was supposedly my full-blooded sister, right? But they're the same age when my stepmom and my dad married. The same step age was May and Charles Jr. And then it was and Marlene and I, and then it was Derek, and then it was John Paul. I mean, not Derek, John Paul, but there's another one. Also, I forgot what I named him, but John Paul had died. What's up with her? I used to like it when they switched places. What was that called? Freaky Friday? I love that Freaky Friday movie of Jodie Foster. Um, but anyway, you go like this and you do your best, and you want to make sure. Let me tell y'all the different things right here, even though some of y'all might not want to hear the Bible verses specifically, but you know that you're always loved. And some of y'all would love to hear, and thanks, my friend Michael, for giving me this glass that's got the words on this that said, you're always loved, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're capable, you're chosen, you're created, you're enough, you're never alone, you're strong, and you're victorious. So I went ahead and looked at the Bible verses as well. So let me go ahead and share this with y'all where y'all can see the verses too. Hey there, Sheila. Good to see you. I'm going to share the screen again and where y'all can see the page that I'm going to and referring to. But the cups just say, the words like that, you are. And so I looked at the Bible verses, as I said. Always loved, and that's taken from Romans chapter 8, verses 38 and 39. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. You are amazing. In Psalms 139:14, I will praise you, For I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. But beautiful, Ecclesiastes 3:11, He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, He has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end. Capable, but Jesus looked at them and said, with men it is impossible, but not with God. For with God all things are possible. You are chosen. 1 Thessalonians 1:4. For we know, brothers and sisters, loved by God, that He has chosen you. It's got a footnote by brothers and sisters, and it means the Greek word for brothers and sisters, adelphoi, refers here to believers, both men and women, as part of God's family. And it's got other Bible verses there. You are created. Genesis 1:31. God saw that he had made all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there were morning the sixth day. Enough. You are enough. 2 Corinthians 12:9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. You are never alone. In Matthew 28:20. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, and baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. You are strong. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. Victorious. Romans 8:36 and 37. As it is written, for your sake we face death all day long. We are considered as sheep to be slaughtered. Knowing all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. And I really believe these verses. Hey, Kay Kaiser, good to see you. Shalom, good, great afternoon. Good to see you. So good. We had a good time when doing your story yesterday. It was awesome. You see, I like the words, but cannot move past. There's no one religion. Yeah, there's not just one religion. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be a spiritual type of thing instead of religion. Everybody tries to make so many rules on religion, when basically it's God's law. It's not. So how you doing there, sister? Good to see you. See, the thing is, what really helped me a lot of times, you know how they tell you not to weep when they're going along hurting you? They tell you don't cry, give you something to cry about. Then it's like I hear a lot of guys and everything, and they'll say, well, we're not supposed to weep, we're men. And even in the Bible, it said Jesus wept. So I'm like, I use the Bible verses and say, if you think you're better than Jesus, do you believe in Jesus? They say, yeah. I said, do you think you're better than Jesus? They said, no, I don't think I'm better than Jesus. But I said, even Jesus cried. So even with Jesus crying, that shows it's okay for men to cry. So don't be down on yourself if you cry. Emotions are emotions. God made us in his image, and he made us where we can have the different emotions. We can be sad, we can be joyous, have we can laughter, tears, sadness. Um, but a lot of times we got to have faith. I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you so much. The, I think that no matter what, I was so mad at God, y'all, at times. I wanted him to just go ahead and take me out of my misery. Seriously, I did. That's when I was wearing the black shades, okay? I could not see that there was promise at the end of the tunnel. All I was seeing was more cruelty, more pain. So it's like, why would I want to keep staying around when it's so bleak and all that, right? So it's like I really was losing faith. It's kind of hard when you're remembering the memories of the traumas of sexual abuse and such as, right? And you're married to somebody who's beating you as well and breaking your bones. you're turning, knocking you for flips, and the police goes, "Oh, it's okay. He can hit you while he likes, as long as he don't kill you." So, what do you do when you're not being protected? What do you do when there's the members of the church that said, "Well, you need to go ahead and let your husband kill you. That's your only way to heaven." Of course, you're trying to get help. You're trying to get them to stand up and say, "Please stop." Try to get him to stop hitting you, so that try to work the marriage out, to stick up for the person, right? So yes, I was giving up, and I really was stopped giving up when there was a couple things that happened, and it showed me that I was loved, that I was not a mistake to God. Um, and that's really something that turned my life around, that I was not a mistake after all, that I was valued, and I was important, and that He loved me. And so that turned my life around. And especially when I got away from the abusers, I got out of that county. I got away from where I was not protected. So I didn't have to hear these naysayers all the time, um, giving me bad advice, trying to get me to go the bad way. And yet they were Christians in itself, supposedly. But their bad way of religion was not right. Theirs was not godly. And of course, I got away from all that. Yes. You had a crime breaking it. You did? In front of my. This is not. You did? You okay now? You probably cry at least twice a year. And it's okay to cry if you're sad about this happening to somebody. We got to feel empathy for others. We got to feel the love and compassion to others. How else are we going to help them? I mean, really. But once I got away, I moved away, I got my own apartment. The blinders were coming off pretty quickly. As long as I was not living in that atmosphere of being abused, I was losing what I thought was weight, and it wasn't weight at all. My body had so much fluid built up in it because I couldn't heal quick enough when I was still every 2 weeks near the end of our marriage was a new bone break. So I could not heal that quickly. So I was really um, dying, so to speak. Um, but like I said, once I got away and the blinders came off, I had to start shutting the negative people out of my life, like my evil stepmom. Had to shut her out. Then I had to shut a lot of my siblings out years later as well. Especially when there's one that's a minister supposedly, and she said that God's punishment to me, all the things that happened to me was my fault because that's God's punishment to me for being a bad girl. I said, even the sex abuse at age 2, and she said, yeah, even the sex at age 2 was because you were a bad girl. See, and I knew that she's a false teacher then, okay, because that's not right, I knew she's a false teacher, so I said, I got to get her out of my life, so that's what I did. And a couple weeks ago, I guess with Facebook changing settings again or something, she wasn't no longer blocked, and she contacted me again, and I had to go like this and block again, okay? So, so it's like a bad situation when you try to keep these vile people that wants to try to knock you down. And I had to disown another brother of mine because I'm not looking at my parents like heroes. Because my brother says that I should look at them as heroes. And I said, I'm not going to look at them as heroes because it's how you treat your kids. And he goes, "Well, look how many people he raised. Look how many kids he raised. So you should look at him as a hero." I said, "No." I said, like I said, it's how you treat a kid, how you raise a kid. It's not how many kids you got. And he said, "Well, look at him as a hero, regardless, because his life had to be bad." I said, "Well, if his life was bad, he should turn it around and know not to treat his kids in another way, right?" So I had to disown them, and they want to come under attack. And like when my supposed birth mother had died, I went on Facebook and I said, "Y'all, please pray for me because I'm having mixed emotions because I forgive her, and yet all these a lot of feelings are coming out. I had wished she had been the mother that she could have been or something." And at that time, I still had him as a friend at Facebook. And he got on there and he was foul to everybody and threatening everybody, saying, "You better not speak badly of my mom. She never did. And I'll come over there personally and whoop every one of y'all's butts." Okay. No, he's not actually a brother. No. We just know each other online. So I had to disown him. So there's a couple that I still got in my life. There's one like my twin. I don't want to ever see her again, but I will communicate with her. Um, but I don't allow her on my Facebook either. Then I've got a brother that I allow on my Facebook because I've always admired him because he's one of the good ones. He's getting out there and he's adopted two boys that needed help, and he's a good father to them and and all. Um, And some of the things I wish I had known, and he had asked me, he said, "Well," and it's a pertinent question, it's like if our stepmother did you that way after daddy died, how come you stayed with her, right? I said, "Well, I had to choose between two options, right? The option of staying with her or going to live with the supposed birth mom who told me at age 11 and 12 while I was down there in Florida that if I wanted to eat, I was going to prostitute myself out." I had to make a choice between staying there and continuously being abused or going down there and possibly be forced into prostitution. Okay. Okay. That was the choices that I had. So I chose to stay down here because I thought, well, at least I have a roof over my head. I get food in my stomach. Um, that was my main thinking. So I looked at the positive and persevered through all that because there was no way that I wanted to go down there knowing that she would try to demand me doing that. And now I was older, and there was no way um, they could have easily set me up. They could have easily had somebody to pick me up, like they sold one of my sisters, and I didn't see her since I was 4 years old. As far as living in the home, who are you talking about? Oh, let's see. My views still saw her user step. Oh no! Wow, that's awful. That's awful. I'm so sorry about that. Oh man, that's horrible. I'm so sorry. One thing that my sister Gwen would do when she had kids, and it's sad, and I don't admire her at all. She's Her way of discipline was fist fighting them. Okay, so when her kids were reprimanded, that was her way. But she fist fought them, and they had to fist fight her back. So of course, what are you teaching a kid if you're teaching them to fight, right? Which one of her kids ended up abusing a woman and taking over her, right? So he went to jail for messing with a lady. But I kind of like blame her because that's what she was teaching them, basically, right? To fight, to do this, to overcome a woman. So it's horrible the things that you are taught and you are bring up. But one thing you got to realize that you can overcome and you can persevere. And I'm not saying this stuff to brag. I just want y'all to know there's been a couple people that's told me that just reading my story has helped them to where they think like, oh, my life wasn't as bad, and here I'm crying I can't get custody of my kids, but I'm not really willing to give up drugs. But then I see your story on what happened to you, and yeah, if I want, I can make it better. I can go ahead and get off drugs. And last I spoke to a lady, she ran up to me and she hugged me and she thanked me. She said, "You helped me to get off drugs. Now I am working with other ladies to help them get off drugs and stuff like that." And she's got her kids also too. So I'm grateful that if it helps somebody, even if it's not helping somebody that's abused or whatever, I'm just glad that it's going to shine some light on you can overcome. You can overcome. There's a lot of positivity. Think about going to places where there's positivity that you enjoy going. Do you have a place in the woods that you enjoy going to? You like to go for long walks in the woods? You like to go in a park? You like to take a soothing bath and get relaxed in the tub? Do some things you really enjoy. You like doing artwork. You like doing crafts. Do some fun things. You love to sing. You love to dance. Go and do some things for yourself. Take some time out for yourself because you matter. You really do. So I'll be uplifted on that. So make sure you do some important steps for yourself also. And you do have to take a break from other people's problems at times. And you just need to go make sure that you doctor yourself by doing some self love as well. Well, for Darlene J. Clark, I love each and every one of y'all. Thank you so much for being advocating, for being here with me, for telling the story. And Cash, I'm there with you. I'm there with you, buddy. Lots of love there. Thank you. Yeah, you got to be sure. How can you help yourself? You can't help others if you don't take a break for yourself, too. Well, thank you so much and lots of love there. I appreciate you. God bless y'all.